Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Luke. Thank you for joining me. It's Monday. There's a lot to get to, a plethora of information to divulge today here on the show. And I want to start first with the combine. I told you we're going to be covering everything going on in the National Football League over the weekend. The combine started up. You've had guys performing since Saturday, Sunday, today, and there will be some more coverage tomorrow as they will wrap up everything from Indy. And so I want to go over the first 3 days of the combine, at least what I've seen, and just point out a few things. I'm not going to go in depth with the combine. We'll do that later on in the week and closer toward the draft. But I just want to give you some quick tidbits from the combine and what I've seen and who I thought stood out, who I thought might have hurt themselves. And look, let me say this before we start really talking about the combine itself. I don't understand why guys don't go out and perform at the combine. I don't understand it. Look, you got agents telling them, look, you don't need to go out there. You don't have anything to prove right now. It's only something that could lower your draft stock, not help it. I don't believe that one bit. I'm a guy that believes, why not give yourselves multiple shots to really impress the scouts, coaches, and teams? Why not give yourself every opportunity to go out and show what you can do? Because this is the way I feel about the combine. If you go out and you stink it up, you lay an egg, you absolutely bomb it, you can always make up some kind of excuse and just light it up at your pro day. Remember a few years ago, Joe Hayden comes to the combine, stinks it up, runs a 4.5 looks really lethargic. He comes out and says, hey, I got a bum ankle. I'll be fine at my pro day. Lights it up at his pro day. Nothing's lost. I don't understand why guys don't just come out and perform and show that you're ready to compete. I think that coaches and GMs and scouts are really impressed by guys who aren't afraid of competition. You come out and you perform and you show what you can do. And if you show out, you don't have to do basically anything at your pro day. If you show them what you can do at the combine and you light it up, then you basically don't have to run another 40 at your pro day. You don't have to lift. You don't have to show them all of those things that you showed them at the combine because they've seen you do it. They know you can do it. But if you stink it up, then all you have to say is, hey, I wasn't at my best. Come to my pro day. You'll see what I'm really about. And then if you light it up there, all is forgotten. And that's why I think you should participate in the combine. I don't understand why these agents don't allow their players to perform at the combine. I don't know if they're thinking they might get hurt. They might impact their draft stock negatively. Whatever the case may be, I feel like that's the wrong way to go about it. Come out, compete, and if you really do what you've been doing throughout your whole college career, if you do it on this stage, you don't have to do it again. But I digress. Let's get into what I saw on the 3 days thus far in the combine. And so in day one, you had a couple of guys step up and really open some eyes. And that's what the combine to me is about, opening eyes of guys that may not have been watching enough tape, may not have known your name, may not have really looked at you as a player that could have been drafted in the second round. Maybe everyone had a 4th round grade on you, didn't watch enough tape, and you come to the combine, you run a fast time, you look athletic and agile, you open some eyes, and all of a sudden now, hey, I have to go back, put the tape on this guy, see what he's about, because I really like what I saw on today. And so that's what the combine for me is about. Guys going out, performing, and opening eyes around the league and giving yourself a shot to shoot up draft boards. And I thought several guys did that in day one of the combine. Of course, day one, tight ends, offensive linemen, and so kickers and, that sort of thing. And so that was day one. And I thought that a couple of linemen really stepped up, kind of separated themselves from the rest of the group, and not separating themselves as in overall number one draft pick, but separating themselves in the sense that, hey, we're here to perform. We're here to open up some eyes and show guys that, look, we are here to play. And I don't know what you saw on tape. I don't know if you saw enough of me, but you need to go back and watch and see what I can do, because I can be an asset to your team, and you should select me a lot earlier than you thought before coming into today. And the first guy that jumps out at you is Teron Armstead. Now, Teron Armstead really came out and he opened up everyone's eyes, and I say that a lot. I say open eyes because that's what the combine is about for me. He really came out and he opened some eyes and dropped some mouths, because he came out and as an offensive lineman, guy that's 6'5", 6'6", you come out and you run a 4.71 40, you're going to open some eyes, you're going to open and drop some mouths, and you're going to get guys to go back and put the tape on and see what you were able to do. And he went to a small school, Arkansas Pine Bluff, offensive tackle, left tackle, played really well, played so well, in fact, that he was asked to come out as a replacement for the Senior Bowl. So he's on some teams' radars, and with that athletic display that he put on in day one on Saturday at the Combine, he's going to shoot up some draft boards. All he has to do is continue to work, have a good pro day, and I'll tell you what, you will hear his name, Teron Armstead, somewhere either late in day one or in day two for sure, because that kind of athleticism, you can't let it go by. And running a 4.71 40 from the tackle position, insane. And so he did himself some good in day one, as well as Lane Johnson, the tackle from Oklahoma. Very raw. These two guys are somewhat raw, but I think that Johnson is more raw than Armstead. Armstead played for a while at Arkansas Pine Bluff. Lane Johnson came in to Oklahoma from JUCO as a tight end, then converted to the defensive side of the football. Then he went over and played some right tackle, and then he played some left tackle. So he moved around from position to position, side of the ball to side of the ball, and so he's got a long way to go. But I tell you what, again, that kind of athleticism, the kind you get from a guy that has converted from tight end. And again, here's another guy running in the 4.7s, 4.72 for Lane Johnson. Another impressive time from a guy that's supposed to be an offensive lineman at the tackle position. You don't get that kind of athleticism every day from your tackles. And so when you see a guy going out and running that kind of 40, you know that there's athleticism there, something that you can work with. If you're looking for a guy that's in a zone blocking scheme or someone that can get up the field and be a lead blocker out on a wide receiver screen, you're looking for guys like this, athletic, that can get from point A to point B in a hurry and be someone that can open up some lanes and get down the field and open up even more lanes for guys who are carrying the football. So these are two guys that I thought stood out. And Lane Johnson, he helped himself so much so that I think he could easily launch himself up into a top 10 pick in this draft, because he's shown the potential to play. He was solid at left tackle in the 2012 season at Oklahoma. He played right tackle, so there's versatility there. So he can get it done. Again, didn't have a lot of experience as much as you would like from a left tackle, but that goes out of the window when you see the athleticism. You put the tape on, you see what he was able to do at Oklahoma in the 2012 season. Lane Johnson is going to be an early round draft pick for someone, and he helped himself tremendously on Saturday. Now you look at day two. And day two featured a lot of your skill guys, the wide receivers, your running backs, things of that nature, your fullbacks. All of these guys were out in abundance on Sunday, your day two of the Combine. And I tell you what, some guys really helped themselves, elevated their cause for being selected earlier in the draft than one would have assumed when this whole process began. And others kind of, I won't say hurt themselves. Again, I don't think you can really do irreparable damage at the Combine. I really don't think you can. But they had an opportunity to elevate their draft stock and did not do so. We'll talk about them here in a second. Let's get to the guys that really helped themselves first, or who stood out in my mind in day two. Anytime you run fast at the Combine, you're going to send shockwaves through the Combine. That's just how it goes. Athleticism and speed always trumps anything else at the Combine. And so when you see a guy like Marquise Goodwin come out and run a 4.27, the wide receiver from Texas, It's going to send shockwaves through the combine. But I was looking for Tavon Austin. I wanted to see what Tavon Austin was going to do. I wanted to see if he was going to put up a very gaudy 40 time because, look, I feel like he's one of the most dynamic players in this draft, and whoever gets him is going to get a football player that is a game changer. And so I wanted to see if he was going to show the type of speed that we saw at West Virginia, and he did not disappoint, running a 4.34 40. So he didn't disappoint, but other guys ran a 4.34 40 as well. Ontario McCaleb, the running back out of Auburn, ran a 4.34 40. Again, a guy with not as much production as you would like at Auburn, but again, you knew the athleticism was there. He was highly touted out of high school, and so he's a guy that at the next level could be someone that could be a home run threat for you if you're looking for that kind of back. Also, you had guys like Ryan Swope, a receiver out of Texas A&M. Remember, if you recall, he was there with Ryan Tannehill, was one of his biggest targets. I was a big Ryan Swope guy when Tannehill was there. His production fell off just a bit. Johnny Manziel came in, and he was the focal point of the offense. I love Ryan Swope. I love what he can do. And him going out and running a 4.37 40 lets you know that he's athletic, he's got speed to burn, and I think he's going to be a problem at the next level if he's in the right system, on the right team, with the right quarterback. Also, who I thought stole the show, for me, who I think is going to be a great find for someone, is Knile Davis, the running back out of Arkansas. Look, 4.37 40. He's got speed. He benched about 31 or 34 times, 24 times, something abnormal for a running back on the 2 1/4 for the bench press. He's a big, strong guy that can run extremely fast. I like Knile Davis. Some injuries kind of hampered him at Arkansas, but I tell you what, if he's given the opportunity to show what he can do, if he can just stay healthy, man, do I like Knile Davis a lot. And I tell you what, I think someone is going to get them a steal in Knile Davis in this draft. And so that's the guy that really impressed me the most. His athleticism, his feet, his quickness, all of those things were on display at the combine. I really think that Knile Davis helped himself on Sunday. Now, the one guy that I thought did not do anything to really help his cause, I don't think he hurt it. People thought that he was going to run right around where he ran coming into the combine, but I was hoping, and he was hoping, to come and shed a few seconds off of that time and maybe, just maybe, shoot up some draft boards, because everyone knows he's the most productive back in this draft, and I'm talking about Monty Ball. Monty Ball came in, the running back out of Wisconsin, came into this combine looking to elevate his draft status. And in order for him to do that, he was going to have to run a very fast time. And when I say very fast, for him, we're talking sub 4.5 40. Anywhere in the 4.4 range would have done Monty Ball some justice. Instead, he comes out, he runs a 4.66 40. And again, no one expected him to light it up at the combine. He did exactly what everyone thought he was going to do, which, again, does not hurt his stock. It just doesn't elevate it at all. And so he had a chance to come in and really leapfrog some guys, really do some damage, and shoot up some draft boards. If he could run a fast time, he was not able to do so. And so Monty Ball basically stood pat at the combine, and his draft stock really was not affected by his performance in Indianapolis. You look at day 3, and I think that it's obvious who stole the show. I think Ziggy Ansah, the defensive end out of BYU, who has been shooting up draft boards ever since his performance at the Senior Bowl, I think he's really starting to open eyes. And again, here we go talking about opening eyes. I don't know if anyone's eyes were ever shut towards this guy, because you can't deny athleticism, height, speed, length, all of those things. When you get guys like Jason Pierre-Paul and Aldon Smith, who are long and tall and athletic, and you see the kind of damage that they're doing in the league, it's hard for you to ignore a guy that comes along that's raw, like Aldon Smith was just a few years ago here at the Combine. Very raw project out of Missouri was Aldon Smith, but you've seen what he's been able to do since coming into the league, and he really still has not tapped into his true potential. and he's getting 18.5 sacks. So when you see that, and you see a guy like Ziggy Ansah come in and run the 40 in 4.63, and you see Ziggy Ansah come in and run the cone drills and get down, get his pad level down, able to get in and out of his breaks and move his feet fluidly, you start to drool and salivate over what he could be in the National Football League. And watching Ziggy Ansah at the Senior Bowl, watching him here at the Combine, it's clear that he's going to come off of the board very quickly in the first round. He's not going to be around for long. And he really helped himself at the Combine. And again, that's why I said it's very counterproductive to me to not perform at the Combine. Because when you do, all you can do is help your draft status. Even if you go out and you stink it up, all you have to do is tell them, oh man, I tweaked my back a week before the Combine, but I was going to give it a go, and I just wasn't right, and I'll be okay, and I'll be ready to go for my pro day. And just light it up at your pro day, which is what you're going to have to do if you don't perform at the Combine anyway. You don't have another opportunity to work out for teams. If you don't light it up at your pro day and you don't work out at the Combine, you leave a lasting image and impression in the minds of all those scouts, all those GMs, all those coaches, all those teams. So if you take your first crack at the Combine and it doesn't go the way you want, you still got a second chance to make that first impression. But if you don't work out at the Combine, you don't get that second chance to make a first impression. You got to hit a home run, and you got to hit a home run at your pro day, or else you strike out. And so I don't understand why you don't come and work out at the Combine. But guys like Jarvis Jones, who elected not to, Ziggy Ansah helped himself here at the Combine. And I tell you what, he's shooting up draft boards as we speak with his performance on day 3 of the Combine. Now, I'll tell you someone who did not help themselves, and that was Manti Te'o. Look, he already came in heavily scrutinized for that whole situation, and I tell you what, he needed to come out and quiet the doubters, quiet the naysayers, and really put to rest all that off-field stuff with his performance on the field. He did not do so on Monday. He really came out. He was falling all over the place. He ran a slow 40, 4.82 40 in the 40-yard dash. He did not look fluid. He did not look fast. He did not look like a guy that you could invest an early first-round draft choice on. Someone is going to pick him early on in this draft. Someone will ignore the 4.82 40. Someone will ignore the off-field drama. Someone will ignore that, just focus on the production he had at Notre Dame and select this guy. But I tell you what, he made it a lot tougher for you to ignore the off-field things, to ignore the fact that he ran a 4.82 40. He made it a lot tougher for you to ignore all of those things here on Monday because he did not go out and help himself. He was falling all over himself in the drills, in the individual drills that they broke down into groups in. And so he did not look fluid. He did not help himself in Indianapolis. But again, this is why you do it. Because if you make mistakes, if you come out and you really bomb like Te'o did, you have your pro day to fall back on. If he were to go out and do what he did today at his pro day and he didn't work out at the Combine, he was screwed. He would not have an opportunity to right this wrong. But instead, he came out, he performed. He didn't perform well, but he performed nonetheless. He competed. He gave himself an opportunity. He did not have the results that he wanted, but guess what? He still got his pro day coming up. He can make amends there, and he can come back and be drafted in the first round as everyone anticipated from the start of this process. So that's why I think the Combine is important, and that's what I've seen thus far in the Combine. And we still have one more day to go. We'll talk about the Combine in depth as the week progresses. I'm going to get to some other NFL news, and I want to start with Alex Smith. Over the weekend, the report is out that, look, the deal is done. Of course, nothing can be finalized if you're with a team right now until March the 12th when free agency gets kicked off. And so nothing is finalized right now, but I'm hearing that it's done. And I don't believe anything until I actually see it. And so they can tell me all they want that Alex Smith is a done deal. He'll be heading to Kansas City. But until it's actually done, until I actually see paperwork being sent to the NFL office, until I hear physicals being given out, I'm not buying it. I need to actually see the proof. The proof is in the pudding, and I haven't seen any of that yet. And so until I actually hear grumblings and rumblings about this is done. There's no doubt about it until teams start coming out and saying, yeah, it's finished. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying what people are trying to sell to me, the fact that Kansas City has pulled the trigger on this deal. But one thing's for sure, Alex Smith is going to be on the move at some point in this offseason. I don't expect him to be back in San Francisco. And all that talk of him possibly being released, you can forget about that. He's an asset to the 49ers and one that I feel like they can get some serious value back, especially with Vic going back to Philadelphia. Now Alex Smith is up first on that list of quarterbacks that is out there for you to be able to trade and go get. And so I don't see Alex Smith being released, and I don't see him being back in the San Francisco 49ers uniform come 2013. I expect him to be traded, and maybe he will be on the way to Kansas City. Maybe it is a done deal, but I tell you what, until I actually see it, I don't believe it. The Eagles over the weekend also parted ways with Cullen Jenkins. That whole dream team that Vince Young talked about, the Cullen Jenkins, Jason Babin, Nnamdi Asomugha, Vince Young, all of those guys that were signed in that offseason, one by one, are being shown the door in Philadelphia. It started with Jason Babin during the 2012 season. It's run its course now. Vince Young has been long gone. And now I think the most productive of those signings, because if you think about it, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie was also in that slew of trades and signings that the Eagles did in that offseason. And now I feel like the most productive of that group that was signed in Cullen Jenkins, he's gone now. And he was making a lot of money. He's 32 years old. His cap number was going to be extremely high. I thought he really produced for the Eagles, but for the direction that the Eagles are going and what they're trying to do and looking to free up some cap space, he was a cap casualty. So they're really starting to break up that whole group that they brought together. And maybe, just maybe, Nnamdi Asomugha will be next up on that list to go. And if he goes, that'll be the final piece of that dream team that was assembled just 2 seasons ago. Man, did the Eagles really bomb in that free agency class. I tell you what, you cannot buy a Super Bowl championship. That is for certain. The Redskins tried it for years and failed miserably, and the Eagles are the new Redskins in that regard. And that's a cautionary tale right there. You cannot buy winning. Winning is something that is formed and bonded by a team being together over a period of time, coming together and playing as one. You can't go out on the street, on the market, buy up all these players that are good individually and want them to come together as a team. It just does not work that way in the National Football League. Now with the Eagles, and this is something that I always talk about when you get the new coaching staff coming in, this is what happens. The new coaching staff comes in, they have absolutely zero ties to anyone on that roster. I didn't select you. I didn't bring you in. I did not draft you. I will get rid of you in a heartbeat. You need to show me your worth and show it to me fast or you're gone. That's what's happening with the Eagles as they're starting to cut a lot of their dead weight and shed it. And look, that's what happens when a new regime comes in. They come in, new coaching staff comes in, and they say, hey, I don't need this guy. I don't need that guy. I don't care that you traded for this guy. I don't care if you traded a few draft choices to get this guy in the draft. I don't need him. He can go. So can that guy, and so can those two. I don't need all of those guys. I'm going to bring in guys that I'm familiar with, guys that I'm comfortable with, guys that I know can get it done in my system. And so that's what's happening in Philadelphia. And let's talk about what's happening in Jacksonville. New coaching staff, new GM in David Caldwell. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars are saying, look, Blaine Gabbert, we didn't draft him. We didn't move up in the draft and trade up to go get him. That wasn't us. That was the last regime that was here. We don't have anything to do with Blaine Gabbert. And as far as we're concerned, if he's not getting it done, which he isn't, we're ready to move on. And so they're coming with the open competition in Jacksonville. But I think that if they go out and get a quality starter, or if they go out and make a move for someone like Matt Flynn, who potentially has the ability to be a starter in this league, or if they just go in the draft and select someone, or if they just trade for someone or get someone that's on the free agent market and bring him in and he's solid, I don't see why they can't beat out Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert has not shown me anything over the first 2 years of his career that gives me the indication that he's going to get better and that he's going to be a starting face of the franchise quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just haven't seen it. And I think that this new coaching staff and this new group that's in Jacksonville, they see the same thing. And I said, if it were me, I'd cut my ties with Blaine Gabbert because I feel like you're wasting time. And time wasted in the NFL is time that is not well spent. And you don't have a lot of time in the National Football League. When you're a new group coming in, if your first season is 3-13, that's just 1 year less you have to get it done. And no one cares that you inherited a bad football team. If you don't start making necessary changes right away and you leave some of the garbage that was left from the last group that was there and you think that you can clean it up and you don't, that's just one less year you have to prove that you can get it done. And so when you come in and you're new and you want guys to come in that fit what you want to do, you got to make that happen immediately. And so Blaine Gabbert might be a casualty of a new group coming in, a new coaching staff, a new regime coming in and wanting to change the culture in Jacksonville. And I don't blame them one bit because I feel like Blaine Gabbert is someone that will have you running in place. And if you're running in place in the National Football League, you're not progressing, you're not moving forward. And if you're not moving forward, you're not winning football games. If you're not winning football games, someone is going to be fired. So I think that Blaine Gabbert is someone that needs to be given an opportunity to prove. This is it for me. You get one more season to prove that you belong as a Jacksonville Jaguars starting quarterback. If you can't get it done this year, and look, I'm talking about training camp. I'm talking about the preseason. I'm not talking about in the regular season. I'm not willing to invest another season in Blaine Gabbert if he doesn't show me what it takes in the preseason and in training camp that he can get it done. If he's still looking like the same guy that's a deer caught in headlights, he's still making the same mistakes, he's not being decisive with the football, he's making mistakes, I'm not even putting him in the regular season. I'm going in a different direction, whether that's Chad Henne, whether that's someone I get off the street, whether that's someone I draft. I'm going in a different direction. I don't have time to waste with Blaine Gabbert. This experiment looks like it's starting to feel like it's gone on long enough. And if he doesn't show me anything that proves otherwise, I can't do it. And so I think that's what the Jaguars are figuring out. And that's why they're having this open competition. And that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. Want to tack on this quick extra point. Now, I told you last week that we were going to start our new segment called 5 minutes or less. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to start in order of divisions. And so the first division up will be the AFC East. And so we'll do all of those teams. Those videos will be posted here shortly. And be on the lookout for all of these teams. We'll get through this very quickly as it's only 5 minutes or less. And so the videos probably will be slightly longer than 5 minutes because I need to explain to you exactly what the format is, what you need to be looking for. But once we get into talking about the team and the actual segment itself, it's 5 minutes or less. So these videos won't be long. None of these videos will probably be over 8 minutes long. And so it'll be quick. It'll be to the point. It'll get to exactly what I'm trying to portray. And it'll be a fun video for all of you to view. So I want you to check that out. That'll be uploaded here shortly. Keep your eyes peeled for that. I want all the feedback I can get. Subscribe to the page if you haven't already done so. Like the videos if you like them. I had fun doing this, and so I want you to really enjoy these videos. And so want to see you back here, same time, same place. And as always, I want you to have a good one. Stay tuned for these videos, 5 minutes or less. They'll be up all week and into next week as we get through the whole National Football League, all 32 teams. We'll do them by divisions. And so I want you to stay tuned for that. And also, many ways to contact or view the show. There's Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Like the Facebook page. There's Twitter. In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Follow me on Twitter. There's YouTube. Louis T is the page. Subscribe to the page. Like the videos. And there's inthelabroom@gmail.com, which is the inbox. If you contact me through any one of those social media websites that I just spoke about, it'll come directly to the inbox. But if you want to bypass that and come directly to the inbox, that's the way to do it. By all means, do so. So I thank you for joining me here on the show. Again, want to see you back here same time, same place. And as always, have a good one. Stay tuned for 5 minutes or less. That should be coming up here in a few minutes. Have a good one. See you later.